Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Chris. This was a request. This is going to have to be 2 videos. It's like 26 and a half some minutes, but it's past that threshold that I like to do. This is Nelson's Battle in 3D. I apologize, completely forgot about this series. There are 2 more videos up, so I will definitely jump back into those. Before I get started, I've already subscribed, but if you can click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, this is what it takes you. Click, click. That's it. It's completely free. If you want to throw money, click on that thanks button, throw some money, request a video, and your name sponsors that video. This one was just a regular request. It took a little bit of time, but you don't get that extra shout out. If it doesn't mean anything to you, requests, just like I say, I don't get to them right away. The donated requests get there sooner. Nothing else to say. So let's get into the video. Like I say, 2 parts. Apologies.
An epic history, Drakenfell collaboration. In 1792, the French Revolution sparked a European conflict that would last a generation. A struggle for mastery of Europe and the world. A contest fought on land and sea. In this war of shifting alliances, the most enduring rivalry was between France and Britain. Britain could not challenge France on land.
Was back in these days, was France like the number 2 naval fighting force? Or maybe was it Spain? And if England couldn't challenge them on land, then was France the superior land force? I know that, and it's obviously going to be difficult to rank. How do you rank them? More fighting experience or more ships? I understand, but I'm just asking for like this time. How would you separate them? Maybe they'll say it. I know that they just said something about land.
But at sea, it was a different matter. Britain's Royal Navy was as dominant on the waves as Napoleon was to prove on land. And in an age when Britain had many skilled...
That's, by the way, pretty damn impressive.
...naval commanders, one stood out above the rest. Horatio Nelson. Bold, inspiring and brilliant. For the British, he'd become a national hero and legend.
It's just Horatio Nelson. It's just such a cool name. Horatio Nelson. Do they even name people Horatio anymore? That's a stupid question. I'm sure the answer is yes. But Horatio Nelson, what a name.
These are the stories of his greatest battles. (1798). The 6th year of the French Revolutionary Wars, and France is winning. General Bonaparte's brilliant victories in Italy have forced Austria to sue for peace. Spain, once France's enemy, is now an ally. Britain is the only major power still at war with the French Republic. British naval power makes a cross-channel invasion impossible. So the French government decides to strike at Britain indirectly by sending an expedition, led by General Bonaparte, to conquer Egypt. If the French succeed and destroy British influence and trade in the region, they will strike a powerful blow against their last major enemy. The previous year, the British defeated a Spanish fleet at the Battle of Cape St. Vincent. But the Royal Navy currently has no major forces in the Mediterranean. Therefore, the French believe they can sail to Egypt in relative safety. when the British learn that a large French fleet is assembling at Toulon, they send Rear Admiral Nelson with 3 ships of the line to investigate. But he is driven south by gales, just as the French, with 13 ships of the line, several frigates and hundreds of transports, set sail. Bonaparte has given the British the slip. Nelson is reinforced with 11 ships of the line. And learning that the French have stopped at and captured Malta, he correctly deduces that Egypt is their destination. He sets off at full speed to intercept. The British warships are much faster than the French invasion force, but they overtake their quarry on a foggy night. And though the 2 fleets pass within a few miles of each other, neither side spots the other. Unaware of their near miss, the British race on to Egypt. Arriving at Alexandria, Nelson sees no sign of the French and heads north to continue the hunt. He misses Bonaparte's fleet by 24 hours. The French land safely in Egypt and march inland, en route to a famous victory at the Battle of the Pyramids. The French fleet remains at anchor in Abu Qir Bay. More than a month later, word finally reaches Nelson in Sicily that the French fleet is in Egypt. Racing back to Alexandria with his squadron,
He has to be losing his mind. Like, we were there, they weren't there. What are you talking about? Well, they're there now. Well, how did we miss them? Did we go so fast that did they stop off somewhere else? You have to be so confused. So mad at the same time. Because 24 hours, and you don't know. You pass by in a fog. Like, oh, you have to be just furious. And it's Napoleon. Every day that he's somewhere, he's taking that territory. Oh. And I've seen a little bit about the battle that took place, and I kind of know that they do surround them, I think. But still, oh, you got to be so mad.
Arrives on the 1st of August. He quickly locates the French fleet and prepares to attack. The French fleet is commanded by Admiral François-Paul Bruez d'Aguillet. He is an experienced commander who saw action at the Battle of the Chesapeake during the American Revolution. He's now a rare thing in the Navy of the French Republic, a 45-year-old aristocrat who's neither fled abroad nor been guillotined. Recently promoted to Vice Admiral, he has a reputation for personal courage mixed with strategic caution. Admiral Bruez has one objective: to preserve his fleet. Bonaparte's army relies on his ships for communications and supplies from France. What's more, when Nelson arrives, almost a third of his crews are ashore, foraging for water and supplies. Admiral Bruez concludes he must fight a defensive battle. His fleet, 13 ships of the line and 4 frigates, will remain anchored in Abu Qir Bay, inline and just under a mile from shore. His own flagship, the first-rate 120-gun L'Orient, is in the centre. Shoals and shallow water protect their western flank, meaning the French, with their reduced crews, only have to man the guns on one side. Bruez issues orders for each French ship to secure itself to its neighbours, fore and aft, with heavy cables. The fleet is to form an unbreakable wall of ships, ready to resist any attack. Bruez well knows the reputation of his enemy, Rear Admiral Sir Horatio Nelson. The previous year, Nelson had been feted for his heroic role at the Battle of Cape St. Vincent, but 5 months later he'd lost his right arm following a failed attack on the Spanish at Tenerife. He'd spent the rest of the year convalescing ashore, and therefore missed the British victory over the Dutch at Camperdown that October. Something he found so frustrating, he declared he'd happily have given his other arm for the chance to take part. Having found the enemy fleet, Nelson is determined to engage and destroy it. And he has sound strategic reasons for a high-risk attack on the French. If Nelson can destroy their fleet, the French army in Egypt will be stranded, far from home, amid a hostile climate and population. It will mean the failure of Bonaparte's expedition without...
Sorry, I just got like extremely chilly.
a single redcoat stepping ashore. Nelson has 13 third-rate ships of the line, plus the 50-gun Leander, and a small sloop for running messages. Facing 13 French ships of the line and 4 frigates, the two forces are evenly matched, though the French flagship L'Orient, with 120 guns, is far and away the most powerful warship present. Nelson decides on a night attack that will exploit Bruez's caution. He will advance along the seaward side of the French line, and when his vanguard reaches the French flagship, L'Orient, his ships will drop anchor. His entire fleet will take on half the French fleet, with northerly winds preventing the remaining French ships from joining the battle. Nelson's plan is bold and simple.
I was going to say, it's if you're taking on half, then they're going to have to the French would have to try to reposition. But if everything sails, so if the winds are forcing them to not be able to do it, then you're the other half really, they can't do anything. I mean, they can try to fire, but what are they firing at? Nothing. It's just water. That's impressive. I just don't like the fact that the not secondary units, but the other units are behind, and I feel like I hope they're not firing, because they're shooting their own ships.
But it will not go as intended. The British fleet begins its final approach at 6 p.m, under full sail, in line astern. The 74-gun HMS Goliath is in the lead. She is followed by HMS Zealous and HMS Audacious. The wind is from the northwest. The seas calm. The British do not have reliable maps of the bay, meaning there is a real risk of running aground. So HMS Goliath has to take careful soundings as she goes, checking the sea's depth. When Goliath rounds the entrance to Aboukir Bay, marked by shoals and a small island, the British begin their turn south, to sail with the wind towards the French line. The French have been observing the British approach, and at 6:20 p.m, as Goliath comes within range, they open fire. Nelson has always encouraged his officers to use their initiative. So when Captain Foley, commanding HMS Goliath, sees there is a gap between the French ships and the shoals, he makes a snap decision to sail down it. Goliath's course will be followed by Zealous, Audacious, Orion, and Theseus. Nelson's flagship, HMS Vanguard, will now lead the rest of the fleet down the seaward side of the French line. Captain Foley's bold decision exploits a disastrous oversight by Admiral Bruez. He has assumed that the shoals make it impossible for him to be attacked from the landward side. Now, not only will his vanguard be doubled, attacked on both sides, but French guns on the landward side are not even ready for action. There are barely enough sailors to man them.
I thought it was a stupid plan because I figured with the shoals there, they would be protected. I'm sorry I'm glitching so much right now. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I just figured that they would be protected in some aspect of being so close to shore. But again, I know nothing about naval warfare, so I'm a fool.
Goliath passes across the bow of Guerrier. She fires a raking broadside into her, round shot smashing its way down the length of the ship. Each following British ship blasts Guerrier in the same merciless manner. HMS Orion takes a wider track to avoid the melee developing at the head of the French line. This will bring her past the French frigate Sérieuse in the shallows. According to convention, ships of the line did not normally fire on frigates during fleet actions. But when the captain of Sérieuse fires on Orion, he waives this protection. Orion holds her fire until she passes the French frigate, then returns fire at point-blank range. Her heavy broadside smashes the French frigate to pieces. The British landward column now drops anchor to take on the French vanguard, while the seaward column, led by Nelson aboard HMS Vanguard, arrives to hit the French from the other side. Each ship's captain singles out a target and drops anchor alongside. Vanguard alongside Spartiate, Minotaur against Aquilon, Defense against Peuple Souverain. 5 French ships are now under attack from 8 British ships, most of them from both sides. HMS Bellerophon and Majestic now join the battle. They head for the center of the French line. Bellerophon aims for Franklin, but overshoots and comes alongside Admiral Bruez's formidable flagship, L'Orient. HMS Majestic also misjudges her approach, becoming entangled with Tonon and fighting 2 French ships simultaneously. By 7 p.m, the light is fading. 2 miles north, the last British ship, HMS Culloden, cannot make out the edge of the shoals and runs aground.
That's the perfect time to just cut this video in half. Yeah. I thought this was going to be a disastrous move to come around the inside, I'm going to say, the shoal side. But I never thought about the fact that all the guns are going to be pointed this way. I never thought about it, but duh. It shows how incompetent I am at understanding this. And just how oh no how oh yep nope that's completely easy. Not to me apparently. All right, well this is part 1. I do apologize for having to break it up, but I do that because when I have a long video, for those who don't know, if I do this video in whole, the average view time's like 7 minutes. So it just makes it feel like I've done so much for nothing. And I know I haven't, because some of you will watch the whole way through, but I break it down just because it makes it easier to watch. Small, easier bites. All right, well, we'll be back with part 2, but until then, have a good day, have a good night.